elephant in the room doesn't seem to have been discussed. Can we really believe that it was just about job creation here?
No, I don't believe it. I know Trump has been very upset at CNN, which is a Time Warner property, and you know, he has opposed the deal. Again, I think it's aimed at you know, limiting the further power of the media, let's say, through greater scale, which is what would happen with the merger with AT&T. So I suspect it came up during the meeting.
Ethan, whether or not we believe press statements or not, the deal, do you think this is a wise move coming from the likes of AT&T? Content is king. This has been a theme we've seen across transatlantic deals within the United Kingdom, within Europe. But it's a billion, an extraordinary amount they're going to be spending.
Well, I think there's two ways this could go for them. One is that it's a brilliant deal. AT&T sees all of the internet, a lot of the internet coming through their backbone, and they see that the future of what was television content is now being streamed through a connected device, and they can control that content and they control the means of delivery of that content. That's the sort of positive scenario here. The negative spin on it is that content's now coming from everywhere. It's coming from our mobile devices. It's coming from kids in their basements, and the power that a property like Time Warner had with CNN, with very curated and their movie studios and things like that.
Expensive.
It's expensive to produce and less valuable in the future. And so there may be some degree of sort of overspending there. I don't know. We'll see.
John, we just heard Ethan talking about potentially the pipes that are owned by AT&T. Now, interestingly, they've also seemed to have been hit out in the last days of SEC Chairman Tom Wheeler's days. He's just got 8 days until the Republican administration comes in. But he seems to be drawing criticism at AT&T for potentially breaking the rules of net neutrality.
You know, I think it's a little bit too late for Wheeler to really hit AT&T with a stick on that. I understand where the argument is coming from. AT&T would turn around and argue that, you know, the reality is these are the benefits of scale. DirecTV is an important property for them, and they're distributing that product over their network. I think under a Republican administration and under the Trump administration, you're not going to see this kind of pressure coming on the telcos, arguing for them to, you know, impose limits based on net neutrality or any other issues. I think you'll find they have a lot more freedom.
Do you agree, Ethan, that under this administration we might see more freedom coming for businesses in general?
Well, I think if you can believe Trump's more recent statements on it, absolutely, right? He's not been a fan of enforcing net neutrality, and you know, seems from all the face of it to be okay with this kind of thing. So you could argue that AT&T is just getting a jump on what'll be a more lax regulatory environment in about 8 days.
The question is whether the regulatory environment allows deals such as the $85 billion deal between Time Warner and AT&T. John, how much power does the president actually have? I mean, the rules don't seem to apply in many ways to the president-elect, but theoretically, he's got to have an arm's length to the Justice Department.
He does. I mean, he's not king, right? I mean, there are limits to presidential power. If the FCC doesn't get involved here, and it only gets involved when there's a transfer of broadcasting licenses, which presumably there aren't here, then the DOJ actually has to sue to block the merger. And typically when they, you know, go to the courts, when they sue, they're suing because of a concentration of share. In this case, you're talking about vertical integration. So, you know, they would have a weak case at best. And again, I warn that I'm not an M&A lawyer, but again, I don't see the case really here against getting this deal done.
Ethan, if the deal does get done, we're seeing a vertical integration there. But who do you think many other rivals will see that actually this bet is right, content remains king and expensive content at that? Or will actually this sort of M&A trend dampen down if people start to buy into what is a very good point raised by you, that, you know, expensive content is always what people want?
Well, I think the immediate reaction will be to want to do the same thing. You're sitting there watching AT&T make this major purchase. potentially get it through the Justice Department. I agree with the analysis that it's harder to make a pure antitrust concentration of share case on this kind of a merger. There are other aspects of antitrust law that could be raised, but assuming it does go through, you're going to see some jealous other media moguls that want to do the same thing. And then I think over time we'll learn the truth about how effective it is. You know, the real integration work, those stories tend to come out in the fullness of time, and whether it's a complete disaster as AOL Time Warner was, or something more synergistic, we'll know, and that'll determine, I think, the future landscape of whether this kind of consolidation happens, or we have a move like we have seen towards breaking things apart.